What motivates us to get up in the morning? That's a question I was thinking about recently, and I decided, I'm going to make a little video about it. So, we're going to talk about the question, but before we do anything, I should probably introduce myself. This is the first video that I'm really made on this channel that's in this style. My main channel is Larry the Slime, but this is Larry's Garage Sale. So, hi, I'm Larry. That's not my real name, but, I want to be anonymous online, so that's how I do it. But this channel is just a way for me to kind of get my thoughts out and vent what I'm thinking, what I'm experiencing in my life without having to worry about, highly editing it, without having to worry about making it entertaining, without having to worrying about making jokes, making it funny. Like, it's just going to be me being completely honest and transparent and just venting out what's going on in my life, what I'm thinking about. And today, like I said in the title, I want to talk about what motivates us to get up in the morning. It was something I thought about recently, and it's pretty interesting because when you think about it, right, what actually motivates you to get up in the morning, it's a lot deeper than you think. I mean, it sounds simple, like at first. It's like, oh yeah, you have to. What do you mean? What motivates you to get up in the morning? You have to get up. But really, you actually don't have to. I mean, if you think about it, technically speaking, every morning you have the choice when you wake up to just crawl back into bed and do nothing. I mean, the problem with that is there are consequences to doing that, but the reality is you have that choice every day. But what makes you not choose that option? Even on those days when you just feel terrible, when you just feel like everything sucks, you're having a terrible day. I think we've all had that day, especially as a man. I think we can all, all men have that one universal experience where you crawl out of bed. You're going to have a tough day and you kind of just sit there and you do that deep sigh where you're just like, you just do that and you're like, man, this sucks. I'm going to have a crappy day coming up ahead. And I think everybody's done that at least once, where you just have one of those days where it's going to suck, but you have to do it anyways, because the reality is almost all of us have some level of responsibility in our life. And I feel like that's the main thing that keeps us going, because even though we don't want to do something, maybe we don't want to go to school, maybe we don't want to go to work, whatever it is in your life that forces you to get up at a certain time, you have to do it, because if you don't, there will be consequences to what you're doing. So say you have work, right? You don't wake up and you just sleep. You don't go to work. There's going to be consequences. You might get fired from your job. You might get yelled at by your boss, and maybe you'll get punished in some way. Maybe your pay will get docked, but regardless, there is a consequence to your actions, and you basically have to get up every morning for most people. But I think there's more behind it, because it's easy to just say, oh yeah, I have to do it. But I think there's more to it than just like physically needing to do it to be able to survive. I think there's a little more of a, motivational level that goes into it. Like when you think about it, to muster the energy to get out of bed and get up despite what your body is telling you, what your brain is telling you, like that takes a lot of energy. And being able to do that, like when you think about it, it's the first big accomplishment in your day is literally getting up. And for me, I've always said, I think the hardest part of a day is getting up, literally, for almost always. Obviously, depending on what's happening in your life, that might be different. You might have harder parts of your day, but to me, almost no matter what, getting up is just really hard. Because one, I'm not a morning person. I know some people are. But I hate getting up in the morning and just having to wake up early for school or whatever. I just wake up and I just sit there and I'm like, man, this sucks. And, I'll sit on my bed for a few minutes when I wake up, just kind of gathering my thoughts and kind of just like trying to process what I'm doing today, what I have to deal with, what the day is going to look like. And just, I think that getting up is almost always the worst part, because once you get up, once you get going, it's not so bad. You get used to it. You get going, you wake up, maybe you eat breakfast, maybe you don't. Honestly, from my experiences, the days where I don't eat breakfast, I actually feel a lot worse, because what happens is I don't eat breakfast, my stomach gets upset, it gets pissed, I'm low energy, I'm not feeling good until I eat something. So honestly, people always say, oh, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And, I don't know if that's true, but there might be some merit to it being important, regardless of if it's the most important. So I don't know if it's the most important meal of the day, but it's definitely up there. And I at least from my experience, this could be different depending on, who you are, but just eating breakfast, getting up at a reasonable time and just getting some liquid in you that's not soda, some water. I'm guilty of, drinking soda. I used to be pretty hooked on Dr. Pepper back in the day. I've cut back quite a bit. But I was really addicted for a while, and that had a very negative impact on me because all that caffeine kind of gave me more severe waves in my energy levels. So that would impact my motivation levels too. But whenever I wake up and I think like, man, this day is gonna suck, I still, regardless of everything, you still do it no matter how okay, what the hell, bro is inside that rock. Anyways, oh yeah, dude, look, he's looking up at him. I've never done a battle like this. Like the Sanda Cobra is just looking straight up like, bro, what is bro doing? But yeah, anyways, what I was saying, regardless of how crappy it is, you always you power through because you have to. And it makes me realize that, like, I don't think we give ourselves enough credit just for making it through a day, but really just making it through a day is an accomplishment. I know it sounds stupid, but I've had a very big problem in my life where, and this is still an ongoing problem, where I struggle to find joy in everyday things because I don't reward myself for completing goals, or maybe I just don't set goals in the first place. So even if I complete something, like, oh, maybe you're in school and you do good on a test, like, to me, I just wouldn't feel good because I'm like, whatever, I just did it. And what ends up happening is I'll only punish myself for the bad things, but not reward myself for the good things. So it's just kind of like this unhealthy cycle of just not good, But regardless of how you feel, you're still getting up in the morning. And I think it's interesting that, like, these responsibilities that we all have are so important, so ingrained in us that regardless of how we feel, we say, no, it doesn't matter. We have to get up. We have to go to school. You have to go to work. And I think it's pretty interesting that, like, as a species, we're able to just power through those just terrible days and just say, you know what? Doesn't matter if I'm feeling like crap. Doesn't matter if I am sick. Doesn't matter if I'm, not getting enough sleep. I have to do it no matter what. And obviously you can call in sick or whatever if you have to, but, like, you can't do that every day. You can't just say, oh, I'm tired, I'm going to call in sick every day to work. You just can't do that. And I think another thing too is, I'm not in a position right now where I'm working like a typical 9 to 5 because I'm still in high school, right? I plan on working a part-time some point in the future, but, I don't work a full 9 to 5, but I'd imagine, a lot of people in America clearly work jobs they don't love, which sucks, but like, working a job you love is unrealistic for a lot of people. So I can imagine getting up in the morning, working a job that you either hate or don't like. It's got to be brutal. But, like, those people, they still do it, right? Like, you don't see, if you're working a 9 to 5, you don't just not show up one day. Like, you have to show up. So regardless of how you're feeling, you have to do it. And I think it's kind of amazing when you think about it that people are able to do that, even in such awful circumstances, such terrible lives, such terrible, just experiences they have, and they still power through. And it actually, makes me realize how grateful I am for how good of a life I have. Because, I've had a lot of issues with self-esteem and motivation, but I realize, I think sometimes it's good to just wake up and, instead of feeling like, oh, I have a terrible day ahead of me, just waking up and being like, hey, man, I actually am really grateful for what I have because, what you have right now is temporary. Like, everything in this life that you live is temporary. Nothing can last forever. Eventually you'll die. Eventually, whatever job you work at, you'll stop working there. The people in your family, like, you only have limited time with them. And that's not meant to be like a dark thing where it's like, they will all die. It's like, yeah, no, I don't mean this to be dark, but I think when you have a time constraint like that, it makes you appreciate the time that you do have a lot more than you normally would. And I think that's, kind of a beautiful thing when you think about it. Also, what time is it? Oh, it's 11:34. Okay, yeah. I think this outbreak is going to reset pretty soon. But yeah, on the topic, I was talking about what motivates you to get up in the morning. I watched another pretty cool video that inspired me actually to do this kind of style of content where I just kind of, like, do an online journal where I just kind of talk about my thoughts and what I'm thinking. This channel, highly recommend. I will link it in the description, called The Weekly Slap. Basically, a popular YouTuber, you might know him, you might not, J Slap, made this channel as a way for him to do exactly what I'm doing, where you can just talk seriously about something, about any topic. And I remember he made a video called Make Your Bed. And in that video, this had inspired the concept for this video, actually. He talked about the most important thing to do every day is when you wake up, make your bed, no matter what, no matter how you're feeling, because what that does is that immediately gives you a victory to start the day, because it means you accomplished something. As stupid as it sounds, yeah, making your bed, anyone can do that, but it's still an accomplishment. And if you start your day with an accomplishment and you tell yourself, like, you reward yourself for that accomplishment, that is setting you off on a good start, no matter how crappy your day is ahead or how not crappy it is. You know, I saw that video and I honestly thought, I'm like, that's actually a really interesting way of thinking about it. Like, when you wake up, if you just start your day off, you make your bed, you eat a healthy breakfast, you drink some water, you know, you don't wake up 5 minutes before you have to leave, you give yourself enough time so you don't have to panic. Like, that beginning of your day, that start, really has an impact on the rest of it. And I've noticed that myself, because I've had days where I'll wake up and then stumble out of bed 5 minutes before I have to leave to go to school, and then I just feel crappy the rest of the day. Whereas when I force myself to get up a little earlier, get some breakfast in me, you know, get some liquid, you know, you just feel so much better for the rest of the day. You know, get some stuff done in the morning, like, it really invigorates you for the rest of the day. And I think that's really magical, because as a human, you know, you kind of think of it like, you know, think of your life as like a momentum game. The more things you get done, you start building momentum. And once you get one thing done, you're like, oh man, I got one thing done, I can go get all these things done as well. And that kind of motivates you to try to be more efficient. And the more momentum you build, the more like positive momentum you get going, the better off you'll be, because you'll just become, you know, more motivated to do more things in a day, versus, you know, you start the day off sleeping, not wanting to get out of bed. That's going to kind of set your tone for the day. And it's interesting because that very beginning of the day has such an impact on the rest of your day. So it really is important how you start your day, because how you start your day impacts the middle of your day, impacts the end of your day, impacts everything. Because that's, you know, there's a thing that I remember I learned in, okay, god damn it, Donphin. Stupid Donphins. A thing I learned in when I took psychology. And I think it's called the serial position effect. I might be wrong. I'll correct that in editing if I'm wrong. But basically what that says is, the idea is that when there is a list of things that happened in your brain or that you have to remember, you're more likely to remember the first and the last of that list. So what that does is, when you're remembering your day, you're going to remember the very first thing you did in your day and the very last thing you did in your day. So if you start your day off by being really productive and doing something good, you're going to remember your day like, oh yeah, you know, I got a lot done today, because you're going to remember that's the beginning of your day, that morning. And you're also going to remember what you most recently did. So that start of your day is really important, because in your brain, that beginning of the day is going to impact how it feels for the rest of the day. So I do think there's some merit to that. So shout out to The Weekly Slap. I'll link that in the description. Definitely inspired this video. Also, just I'll give you some background about this channel some more, because I kind of said most of what I wanted to say about this topic. But as you can tell, I'm playing Pokemon. I'm shiny hunting in the background right now. And, you know, because I've seen people do a lot of styles of content like this where they'll play Minecraft in the background or whatever, or play Call of Duty. And originally I was going to just play Minecraft, but then I'm like, man, I feel like everybody plays Minecraft in the background. So I'm like, you know, maybe I'll try playing some Pokemon. You know, maybe some Pokemon fans might stumble upon this channel. And the reality is, I don't really care if anyone stumbles upon the channel. I think it would be great if I could help people out, if I could, you know, give people insight on things in life, and maybe someone that's feeling similar to how I am, maybe they can feel some sympathy between me and them. They can feel connection, and that maybe I'll be able to help somebody out. That's the reason why I make these videos public. But the reality is that I'm kind of just making these as a way for me to vent to myself, because I don't really do journals. I know a lot of people will do journals. They'll write stuff down in a journal. I tried doing that a couple times. I'm not really a big writer. I don't like handwriting things. But I think making a video that's something I can keep a log of. I have a record of that on YouTube. I can come back and listen to that video later. But also, other people might be able to see it. And even if only a couple people see it, or maybe no one sees it, that's okay, because it's still just a way of me to vent to myself and kind of just get out some thoughts and emotions that are kind of in my head. And, you know, maybe I can help somebody out. Maybe somebody can see this video and can relate to it. And also, too, like, I enjoy shiny hunting, but I never have a good excuse to do it, because I'm always like, man, this is a waste of my time. I have so many more important things I need to be doing today. But this gives me a way to, you know, kind of create this YouTube channel I've always wanted to, and still find some time to shiny hunt. And who knows, maybe we'll find a shiny during one of these videos. So, but yeah, right now, this is, if you guys are curious. So, you know, my main account is on Pokemon Scarlet. I think, let's see how many hours I have. This is my main account, 245 hours. So I bought Pokemon Violet on eBay for like 15 bucks. And I'm doing a shiny only challenge. So for every badge that I get, I'm going to get one shiny. So these are my 4 shinies I've gotten. I've gotten this guy, gotten this guy, gotten this guy. I like 9 to 5 Worker. I just think he looks funny. Silicobra. But I name all of them because I think it's fun to name them. But right now we're shiny hunting for a Donphan. I'd like to turn this into a series. I don't think it's going to be like daily uploads or anything, but just whenever I have something on my mind I want to get out, you know, I can just kind of use this, you know, use this channel to just kind of get out my thoughts, vent about whatever it is. And the topics aren't always going to be like philosophical. Like, they're not always going to be about motivation, like kind of like the one today was on. You know, maybe they're just going to be about, maybe a new game came out and I want to talk about it. Like, maybe they release a new Pokemon game and it sucks and I want to complain about it. Like, you know, it could be stupid stuff like that, but it could also be more motivational things. Maybe it could be, I'm having struggles in my life and I want to talk about it. You know, it could be anything, really. So there's no limitations here. I'm open to talk about anything. If somehow people do stumble upon this channel at all, I don't really know if the YouTube algorithm's going to like it very much, because it's not very optimized content. But say people find it. If you're watching and you want to leave any suggestions or feedback in the comments, maybe you've had similar experiences to me and you kind of want to talk about it, I will definitely read all the comments. So drop anything down if you... I mean, I don't know if I'll listen to video ideas, but if you have any ideas of stuff I could talk about, feel free to drop them there too. You know, I'll always read the comments, so I'll probably respond to most of them too, if I get any. So, you know, completely, you know, this is a very free and open space where you can kind of talk freely. I want this channel just completely transparent, completely open about everything I talk about. Everything is, you know, serious. You know, this is just my way to kind of just talk about my own experiences, my own views on life, my own philosophies, just kind of everything. And have a way to record it so that, you know, in maybe a year I can look back at this video and kind of see how my views and my ideals have changed over time. And I think that's just kind of a cool idea. And, you know, maybe people can get some value out of it. You know, maybe someone sees this video, you know, they can relate to it. They can understand it. They can have some insight on it, you know. Maybe not. You know, I don't care either way. I mean, I do care, obviously, but, you know, it's not a big deal either way. If 0 people or 10 billion people watch it, you know. So, we'll see. But, yeah, I think that's probably all I have for this video. Not too long. I'm not really sure if there's going to be a certain length per video. They're all probably going to be a little different. But this is just kind of my first video in this format. So if you guys like it, I mean, let me know. I plan on doing more regardless of if people watch it or not. So, yeah, thank you for listening. And, yeah, I guess I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good one, everyone.